Hello and good morning, you two. How are you doing today?
Very well.
Great. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. I got to tell you, Inside the Black Box is one of those shows where I can't sit down and just watch it. I've got to have my notebook beside me because it is a teaching tool. I learn so much because it's about community and the continuation of that.
Yay! That's our purpose.
It is a purpose, and the thing is, it's almost like you guys are so connected to what we're doing on this side of the flat screen, like you're sitting right there with us. How is it that you're able to share your storylines like that?
I mean, I think what happens is that the actors who come onto the show realize very quickly that they're excuse me, that they're in a safe space. They can actually talk about themselves in very, very truthful and candid ways without sort of feeling like it's going to turn around on them. Right. The students that surround them ask them questions that are not having just to do with their art, but having to do with the economics that performers in the entertainment industry have to sort of deal with. You know, how do I do a pilot? How do I save my money? How do I make it between gigs? You know, how do I keep my artistic life alive? But I think it's because it's a safe space. People feel very authentic and genuine when they come into the space, and they're very willing to give their stories because they understand how much effect that story has on people who are coming into this world for the first time.
Now, Tracey, I realize that show prep is everything when it comes to doing the show Inside the Black Box. But at the same time, as that host, aren't you also one of the greatest listeners on the planet because you have to take from what they just shared with you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that listening is a part of acting. And so I think the other thing is that what we've also created when Joe talks about that safe space, we are all on the same plane. You know, after the show, what you don't see is the actors coming up to Joe and asking for advice on the script or training. And Joe actually stands there and answers the question and wants to be there. Or, you know, the same with me. Actors will ask questions. The guest last season, you know, everyone was in the green room. This season, everyone wanted to be on the set and be and wait until it was their, you know, time to be on the show. And so when you put people all on the same playing field, there's a unity there. I'm not in this by myself, and you feel that too. Someone like a Jeffrey Wright, you think that acting is hard, and he said that on our show. And so that brings us closer together and unites us, and we feel like, and I know the actors feel like they're not alone, and that if Joe has had an experience like them, then okay, I will continue to persevere and be passionate about my career and train because Joe Morton does it. Emmy Award winning Joe Morton does it. You know.
I think part of what goes on is that, you know, part of what it means to be an actor is to make choices in terms of the character you're going to play. It also means making choices in terms of the kind of life you want to live. Yep. And what you're hearing are the kinds of choices that all of these actors had to make along the way to get where they are and to continue to go where they would like to be. And as Tracey said, everyone in that room begins to feel the community of that idea, understanding that we are all sort of moving in the same direction, not as just separate individuals, which we are, but as a community as well, which is a hard thing. I mean, it's kind of like the group theater many, many years ago. What was great about there were a number of actors who got together and were trying to put together sort of a way of approaching the work. Well, that's kind of what Inside the Black Box is trying to do, is give these students, vis-a-vis the A-list actors that they're hearing from and the theater games and the improv that they do, giving them a way to approach the work.
This is every reason why, like when I talked about it in the beginning where I take notes during the show, because we're all students. I mean, for you guys to be with Keith David, I mean, oh my God. I mean, just the message itself is enough to really, it gets inside of you and then you want to activate it.
And, you know, the other thing, too, is that, you know, Keith, the way you said, you know, you guys interviewed Keith David and all the other guests that we have, they don't come on as those stars, quote unquote. Yep. They come on as people. And that's where the spirit also connects, because then you feel like, and I'm not going to, you know, the spoiler alert, but there are stories that our guests shared with us that was the first time they spoke of that. Mm-hmm. So to feel that comfortable, to share something personal, I feel like that is a part of this journey and this purpose of this show as well.
Isn't this a level of sharing it forward in the way that so many of these actors and musicians and entertainers, they've experienced it, and it's like we want to look at those that want to, come up and, and take over where we've left off, but you've got to share it forward, not just give it, just share it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I think that that's where they find themselves when they come on the show, is that they are more than willing to share these stories because they are personal, because they are a way of, if you're reading someone's biography or even a good novel, you're getting deep down inside a particular character or the number of characters in whatever it is you're reading. And the same thing happens when these actors come on the show. They find themselves in a position where they want to share something personal because it means something. Yep. They're not there to sell their latest movie or their latest book or their latest TV show, whatever it might be. They're actually there involved with these other students in a way that makes it all very personal. I mean, acting is a very personal thing. I remember years ago, I heard a story about an English actor who was being asked to audition, and when he was asked, he said, we don't quite know each other well enough because it's a very personal thing. And it's exactly the same thing with this show is in the reverse, in that the guests come on, and I think at first they might be thinking, well, this is just going to be an ordinary kind of interview show, and what they find out is, no, this is actually allowing them to talk about what's meaningful to them and therefore hopefully meaningful to the people who are listening to them.
Oh, I just love where your guys' hearts are. It was such great influencers as well as inspirational stories and everything like that. Please come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you.
Thank
you so much.
You be brilliant today, you two, okay?
You too.